Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I'm Prakash Zog. Last time I talked briefly of the basic concepts in Avatar. In the Puranic Dharma and the subsequent Bhagavad Dharma, Vishnu was the dominant deity. So the avatars related to him were obviously more popular. Today I'll talk of some of his early avatars. The Shatpat Brahman of the Shukla Yajurved gives information of some of the early avatars and a little bit about later ones also. Uh, but then, how many avatars are there in the first place? Different Puranas give different numbers of avatars. The Matsya Puran talks of 12 of them. The Garud Puran talks of 22. The Bhagavad Puran also talks of 22. And it goes ahead and says that there are, in addition, innumerable other ones. There is a Puran called the Manav Puran. It gives you 42 avatars. And the Agni Puran lists 12 again. Some of the common aspects and names that are associated with these avatars are Dhanvantari, Mohini, Sanat Kumar, Naranarayan, Dattatreya, Vyas, Kapil, Narad, the three Rams, the Dasharathi Ram, the Balaram, and the Bhargav Ram. The Manav Puran, in fact, goes ahead and lists Rushabdev, the first Tirthankar of Jainism also. But the generally accepted are known as the Dashavtar or the 10 of them. Matsya, Katsya, Varaaha, Narsimha, Waman, Parshuram, Ram, Krishna, and Kalki. These nine are usually fixed. Some books would list Balram as one of them, and some of them will replace him with Gautam Buddha. Uh, the list and the names keep varying, as I say. Out of these, Buddha is the only historical figure, but that probably was a shrewd move to get the Buddhist laymen back to the original Hindu fold to which they belonged. In the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, Hamsa is the avatar that replaces Buddha. As I mentioned last time, the first three avatars have been transposed from Prajapati and the fourth from Indra. And the tales associated are modified suitably in the Puranas. The first, obviously, is the Matsya avatar. The flood tale is a part of many myths in many of the cultures. This tale is in the Shatpat Brahman and is associated with Vaivaswat Manu, the king at that time. He was uh, in the river performing his ritual of offering water to his ancestors. This is typically referred to as tarpan. And as he pulled out his palms, he found a small fish in his hands. Uh, the fish requested for a shelter, and since he was the king, he took her along with him in his kamandalu and went to his palace, put her in a tank, and the fish started growing and it grew and grew. And the king kept on replacing tanks and pools and so forth. And he realized that the growth was beyond his capacity. His pride was shattered, and so he carried the fish to the sea, put it in the water, and said, "Sorry, that's all that I can do." And the fish said, There will be a time when you will call for me again. Watch out for the flood that is going to come. Put all life forms in a boat and wait. When the flood comes, be ready. And so, when the flood came, the king, with all the animals and the boat, tied the snake king Vasuki to the horn of that giant fish. And the fish protected him from the flood. He recolonized Earth, and all humans are said to be the descendants of Manu and therefore referred to as Manav. Uh, the second avatar, this is a special one because in this you would find Vishnu in multiple roles. Uh, the gods and demons approached Vishnu to end their conflicts and uh, request requested for Amrut, which is nectar, the elixir for life all along. Vishnu advised them to churn the Kshir Sagar, the sea, whose froth was as good as milk, uh, and churn it, he said, till you get all the riches from the sea. It is obvious here at this particular stage that since the demons and the gods together collectively approached Vishnu, he is probably more important than both of them and advisor to both of them. This is a tale which is depicted and talked of very often in Indian culture. It is known as Amrut Manthan, churning of the Kshisagar to obtain butter in the form of a number of jewels. Uh, this is depicted beautifully in, I remember, in Angkor Wat, Siam Reap in Cambodia. You can see a whole panel about 40 feet by 10 feet of the great epic tale of Amrut Manthan. Uh, Vishnu not just advised what to do, but he also played an active role. Uh, when the churning process started, the tale talks of using the mountain known as Mandar, around which the Vasuki, the same one, was coiled around to be used as a rope to be pulled on two sides to churn the ocean. It needed a firm base. The mountain would sink. So Vishnu took up the avatar of the tortoise, the Kurma avatar or the Katsya avatar, and on his back was supported the Mandar Parvat. But nothing is going to remain steady like this. So Vishnu seated himself at the top end also to ensure that it remained steady as it was pulled along the two sides. And the gods accepted the tale, and the demons, who were a little proud, accepted the mouth of the serpent lord and started churning. And the agitation caused him to spew out poison, and that destroyed some of the daityas as the tale goes by. And the churning process then resulted into what are referred to as the 14 Ratnas. The first that spewed out was halahal. That was the most potent poison around. And Lord Shiva, in order to protect everyone, consumed this halahal. And that is the one that gave the blue neck or the dark neck to Shiva. And That is why he is referred to as Neelakantha, the one with a blue throat. The second Ratna was Lakshmi. She became Vishnu's consort. Then came the Apsaras, and they opted to go with the Gandharvas. Then came Sura, Varuni, as she is called, because she's the daughter of Varuna. And the Daityas or the demons accepted Varuni, and Varuni is then said to be an intoxicating drink. Then came Kamdhenu, a cow that could provide everything. And Brahmadev said, look, all the rishis perform a lot of yajnas, and they have a lot of needs, and they can't come running after the kings and the gods to fulfill their needs. So you might as well give Kamadhenu to the rishis so that they can perform their yajnas and their corresponding activities without disturbing anybody else. So the Kamadhenu was given to the Saptarshis. Then came Airavat, the great elephant. And that, of course, the king of gods, uh, Indra, took it over. And then came a horse with multiple heads. It was supposed to be the best horse in the world. Its name was Uchaishrava. And the great demon king, Bali Raja, as he is called, accepted the horse as his vehicle. Then came Kaustubha, a beautiful jewel. And Vishnu was given this Kaustubha. Then came a plant referred to as Parijata. Uh, some also refer to it as Kalpavruksha, but Parijatak is more common. And this Parijatak went to the Devalok, or the abode of the gods. And that flower tree was later on brought down by Krishna to earth. Uh, then came a beautiful bow known as the Sharang, and it was offered to Vishnu. And so he is also referred to as Sharangadhar, the one who wields Sharanga. Then came Chandra, the moon. And so moon is often referred to as the sibling of Lakshmi. And since Shiva had consumed the poison to cool him down, Chandra was offered to Shiva. And that crescent of the moon is in his stalk of hair that we always see depicted so many places. Then came a conch known as the Panchajanya, and that was offered to Vishnu. And finally came uh, Dhanvantari, who emerged carrying a vessel or a pot of Amruta. That was all that they were all after. And obviously, there was a clash. And so some of the droplets of the Amruta dropped around at different places. To solve the clash, um, Vishnu took up the form of Mohini and agreed to distribute the Amruta to everyone. Um, since the gods were holding a tail, they were offered the first servings. And shrewdly, Vishnu finished all the Amruta by distributing it to the gods themselves. A demon named as Swarabhanu got into the queue of the gods sitting around and consumed a part of this Amruta. But before he could take it and its effect could take over the demon, uh, the Surya, the sun god, and Chandrama, the moon god, complained to Vishnu about this problem. Vishnu immediately, with his Sudarshan Chakra, chopped off his head. But the effect of the elixir was still there. And so the head remained independently alive, and the torso remained independently alive. And they are the ones who are referred to as Rahu and Ketu. And for the misdeeds of the sun and the moon, they are said to devour them every time in a year, sometime which all of us know as the eclipses of the moon. and the sun. And that's a tale from the Puranas, obviously. The few drops, as I said, fell at confluences of rivers and in major rivers. Some at Prayag, where there is a confluence of Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Haridwar, which is Hari's place, and is the source of Ganga. Uh, uh, in Nasik, which is Godavari, and in Ujjain, which is Shipra. And so bathing in these rivers at specific time schedules is referred to as the Kumbh Mela. And it is believed that if on this Parva or a great occasion, if you take a dip in these places, some of the traces of that Amruta that fell there would be imbibed in you and you would live longer. Keep the tale aside. Look at the situation. Of the 14 Ratnas that came out, Vishnu gets Lakshmi, Kaustubh, Sharang, and Panchajanya. 4 out of 14. You can calculate the percentage of the benefits. So obviously he is far more important than everybody else. And his importance continued. Uh, then comes the third avatar, which is not really very well known. Uh, the Varaha avatar and the next one, which is the Narsimha avatar, have a background tale associated with them that is mentioned in the Puranas. Sanak Muni went to visit uh, Vishnu in his abode, and he was stopped by the gatekeepers Jay and Vijay because Vishnu was a bit busy. Sanak Muni waited for some time, and since was refused entry once more, he cursed both of them and said that since you are behaving not like normal people but asuras, you will be born as asuras. The two of them pleaded, and Vishnu ran out and requested Sanat Muni to take back his shap or curse. But that was done. So Vishnu said, okay, you would be born as two very mighty demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And when I come in avatar form and slay the two of you, you shall be free of this curse. Hiranyaksha prayed to Brahmadev and was granted a number of boons. He became very arrogant, uh, stole Bhudevi, which is the goddess that represents earth, and hid her in the ocean depths. Earth had to be freed. So, in the form of Varaaha, Vishnu fell from the nostrils of Brahmadev and started growing. He achieved a Virat Roop of a wild boar. He is said to be 10 yojana broad, 100 yojana tall, and 100 yojanas long. So a massive Virat Roop of the boar was born. Uh, he dug deep into the sea and removed and pulled out earth goddess Bhudevi and rescued her from the depths. She was spread on the lotus leaf, and this process of spreading is a root of the word used in Sanskrit, prutha, and that is why she is known as Prithvi, the one who has been spread and saviored and saved rather on a lotus leaf with its support. This is also mentioned in the Taittiriya Brahman as a tale. Naturally, uh, Hiranyaksha rushed back to attack the boar to pull him out and take back Earth. The conflict resulted into his death, and as promised previously, he became free. Let me remind you that this wild boar concept is very popular in Indian philosophy, or rather Indian culture and historical statements and many of the myths. And he is referred to as the Yajna Varaha. And you would find a statue of this Varaha or a wild boar in many of the temples. I'm sure when you look at it next time, you will be reminded of this tale. And that brings us to the next avatar, the Narsimha avatar. The second brother, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu means the one who sleeps on a gold mattress. So obviously he was very rich and still very pious, and so he prayed to Shiva and Brahma, and because he hated Vishnu naturally, and they granted him a number of boons. He actually wanted to become immortal. But those gods told him that, look, immortality is out of question. Whatever you want, we'll give you. So he selected a number of boons which he felt would protect him from any possibility of death. Uh, that was practically near immortality. And so naturally he became very arrogant, started misbehaving. And the first thing he did was uh, he opposed his son, Prahlad, who himself was a devotee of Vishnu and had been advised by Narada of the prayers for Vishnu. In fact, Prahlad gives the 9 steps of how bhakti is to be carried out by an individual. I'll come to that when I talk of bhakti itself. And so the king, the father, tried to eliminate the son in a number of ways. And Vishnu, in one form or the other, tried kept on protecting him. And so Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry and claimed uh, that he could destroy Vishnu also if required. And he asked Prahlad as to where he was. And then Prahlad told him that Vishnu would be everywhere around. Now, to find a number of loopholes in that set of boons, Vishnu appears through a pole. So he is not born. He appears as half lion and half man, the best of the two, from one from the animal world and one from the mortal world. He appears at twilight. That's neither a day nor the night. And he is not born himself, but by the kick of Hiranyakashipu, who breaks the pillar open. And he uses no weapons but his own nails to put him on his lap and tear open his abdomen and destroy him. And that position is neither in the air nor on the ground. So all the clauses that Hiranyakashipu had put were overcome by Vishnu shrewdly, and he was destroyed. That goes the tale from the Puranas. This avatar, as I had listed out last time, is an Ansha avatar because it is for one particular specific purpose only, to liberate Prahlad from the tyranny of the great king and thus reinstate Prahlad, who later on became one of the best kings. That brings us to the next one, the Vamana avatar. And this avatar uh, has a different logic. We must remember that Vishnu has attachment for everybody who is living. So it is not necessary that he should destroy evil. Uh, in fact, somewhere in the Puranas, it is mentioned that the very destruction of many of the demons ensured that they got a place in Vaikuntha because they were killed by Vishnu himself, the abode of Vishnu. Uh, Here in this tale, Vamana Avatar, he is uh, against a king who has become too strong and too powerful. And the gods come and request Vishnu to ensure that the dominance of Bali, who is basically an asura, should be curtailed. This is a tale from the Treta Yuga. So he takes birth as Vamana, the son of Aditi and Kashyapa, the parents of gods. And he is their youngest child and is a member of the Adityas, whose first Aditya is said to be Indra. And therefore, Vishnu is many a times referred to as Upendra also, subordinate or the youngest one among the Adityas, the youngest one to Indra. Vamana basically is one who is short, diminutive, but capable of doing a lot of good things and great things. He arrives at Bali's Yajna and asks him for a donation of 3 steps of land for himself. Bali agrees because that's just a minor request and a small boy asking for something, and he's in a sacrificial yajna where he has to donate things, and so he decides to uh, give him the land. Or he says, "How will you claim it?" He says, "I just need 3 steps. That's all." The instant he says this, the guru of Bali, Shukracharya, has a doubt as to what this whole thing is about. So when Bali, for any ritual to be complete and a donation or a dan to be complete, you need to offer water on the hands of the receiver that I have donated this to you. So Bali is said to have taken a kamandalu and poured water on the hands of um, Vamana. Shukracharya, who had a doubt, got into the small spout of the vessel and prevented water from falling down. He was obstructing a great cause. So Vamana took a straw and poked it inside the opening, and that pierced the eye of Shukracharya, and he is said to have lost his eye in the process. The water fell in the arms, and as soon as that happened, Vaman started growing in size. He took the Virat avatar. He grew far beyond all possible limits. In his first step, he completely occupied all the skies. In the second, he occupied all the Devlokas and other areas. And then asked Bali, where should I put my third foot? There was no place left. And Bali, being as generous as he was, he said, you could use my head as your third stepping stone. The highly pleased Vamana put his foot on Bali's head, and that pushed him in what is known as Patala, the world underground. But then he said, all that world belongs to you, O Bali. You shall be its ruler, and I will be the gatekeeper, and nobody henceforth will take that away from you, for I will shield anything that goes against you. Later on, sometime, in the Ramayana, Uttaramcharit, which also depicts some of the tales of Ravan. Ravan is said to have tried to compete with Bali and visits Bali. That's a tale I'll come to sometime later, not today. Uh, then there are these 3 steps that he has taken, are many a times referred to as three major achievements, and that gives Vishnu the name of Trivikram. And this word Trivikram then refers to Vaman taking those three steps in the Vaman avatar. But that is from the Puranas. In the Vedas also and in the Brahmans also, the same name Trivikram is there. And there, the interpretations of Trivikram are slightly different. They talk of the sky, the space, and earth as the three areas which were conquered by Trivikram. And the name is often because Vishnu, as I mentioned previously, is also associated with the sun. And so these three are said to depict the sunrise time, the mornings, the dusk of the sunset, and the noon in the middle. So those are the three that are covered. I personally, as I said, if you need to really try and interpret, we could talk of them as the X, Y, and Z axes. The three of them that were conquered by Vishnu, and that occupies all the space that is around us as we know of even today. So these are the first five major avatars, not talked of in detail many a times, just known as a part of tales from the Puranas. If you have liked whatever I have said, please pass on this information to your next generation. Let them also enjoy the concepts of how avatars came about. And like and subscribe to this channel. I'll come back with some more information associated with all these aspects after 15 days again. Till that time, namaskar.